Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Dais, a podcast about the stories taking place in and around El Paso County, Colorado. I'm your host, Scott Anderson, and today I am joined by Sean Markley, the Training Program Coordinator with El Paso County's Public Works Department. How are you doing today, Sean?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me out here today. I really appreciate it. Before we get started, I want to quickly add that if listeners are interested in more stories about people doing good in and around El Paso County, or hearing from county leadership about local government priorities and how they operate, you can find additional episodes of this podcast on your podcast platform of choice. But to get started today, Sean, I was wondering if you could give me some background about yourself and how you ended up here at El Paso County.
So I've been with El Paso County Public Works. If you include my seasonal time, going on about 4 years. I've only been living in Colorado for about 4.5 years. I previously worked for Lowe's. I was a manager at Lowe's, transferred out to Colorado, and then applied for the county, got a seasonal position. Did that for a little over 6 months. After that, I applied for a maintenance one position, got hired on as a maintenance one, where I obtained my Class B CDL. Did that for about a year. And then this position as the training program coordinator opened up, and I applied, just really throwing my name in the hat, and somehow got the position. And I love working here. It's a great place to work. 4-day work week, so great balance between family and work.
Yeah, no, that's great. Talk to me a little bit about that initial role as a seasonal worker here at Public Works. What did that look like? And did you kind of float around the different teams to see what things are like? What does that role look like?
So as a seasonal employee, I was on the asphalt crew. It was a lot of crack sealing the roads. I helped with snow removal around our main yard here at Acres, and that's really what I think got me noticed. I grew up in Pennsylvania, right on the Great Lakes, so we had a lot more snow up there than
how snow goes
than here, and so I was one of the only seasonals ever to get in a plow truck and be plowing our parking lots here at the yard. So I think that helped me propel to get into a full-time position here.
Yeah, no, that's great. So talk to me a little bit more about your role now with El Paso County, what you do as a training program coordinator, and how it helps the department as a whole.
So as a training program coordinator, every other week I do all of our onboarding. So we have a lot of guys retiring lately, so we're hiring quite a few people. So the first week, I'll do a flagger class. So it's a mandatory. All of our employees have a flagger certification. So I'll do a flagger class. We have a bunch of outlying yards, so I'll take them on Wednesdays and give them a tour of the county. And that really surprises new employees on how big our county actually is.
Oh, yeah.
On that day, I drive over 300 miles. They get to see stuff that they people who've lived here their whole lives have never seen, some of the stuff that they get to see that day. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, over 300 miles in one day.
Yeah,
good gosh. What are some of the spots that you hit to kind of give them that idea of where they'll be working?
So we leave Acres around 7 in the morning. We go to Fountain, then we go to Elcott, then Truckton, then Calhan, then Peyton, then Black Forest, then Fox Run, and then up the pass to Green Mountain Falls.
Yeah.
So it's a long day of driving.
Wow. Yeah. And what's interesting about that is just the variety that you see, because, I mean, like you said, you'll go down to Fountain. It sounds like you're starting kind of south and then working counterclockwise, kind of east to north to west and coming back. And you see, the plains, you'll see the forest, you see the mountains.
Yep.
You see it all.
Everything.
Oh, that's really crazy. What are people's impressions when they go on those rides with you and they see all of that? Like, what do they say? What do they think? Like, what do you get from them?
The one I hear probably the most is, I've lived here my whole life and I didn't even know Truckton existed.
That's fair. That's fair.
They're surprised on how big we actually are. That's probably the biggest takeaway.
Yeah,
is they don't expect the county to be as big as we are.
Yeah. What are some of the challenges in helping people train for that? I mean, like we mentioned, there's the plains, there's the forest, there's the mountains. you address roads differently in each one of those geographies. So when you're training people for how to perform their jobs and how to prepare for all of that, how do you guys go about that? Like, how is it challenging in that way?
So I don't know if it's necessarily challenging. So with our entry-level program for our equipment operator ones, when they come in and they start with us, they go into a process where they'll spend 2 weeks with every crew.
Okay.
So they get to kind of feel out every position that Public Works offers. So they can kind of get to feel where they fit in the best. We can't always give them the crew that is their number one pick. It kind of depends on availability for the positions. But then depending on what crew they're on could depend on where in the county they're going to spend a lot of their time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that makes sense. So one of the things that I've found really fascinating now, having been at the county for just over 2 years, is just the focus on ongoing training. It's not just about, hey, when you get started with your job, we're going to give you the rundown of like, hey, here are the things you need to know, and go to your job, and we'll see you when we see you. Yeah. I think especially within the Public Works Department, you guys are very focused on ongoing training. Yeah. Why is that such an importance to the department here, and what is your role with that? So
the biggest important factor of the training is safety. We want our employees going home the same way they showed up. So our training, you start training on the first day and you continue that throughout your entire career. My role in that is I train people on a lot of equipment, and then I'll give them like a basic rundown on the safety aspects of it. Then they'll get majority of their training in the field with their crews. Depending on the piece of equipment, you need so many documented hours on that piece of machinery before you can test for it. So once somebody gets trained, the trainer will fill out a training sheet, and then I track all the hours that person has on each specific piece of equipment. And once they get enough hours, then I'll test them to make sure that they're competent enough that they can run the machine safely.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And this isn't just like driver's ed where you're taking out a small sedan and doing these. I mean, this is heavy machinery we're talking about. Yeah. And I understand you just recently became a certified CDL tester. So talk to me about what that means and how it benefits your team in the training that you do.
So it was probably one of the hardest classes I've ever taken. Mm-hmm. Which it should be. I'm giving somebody a driver's license. Like our tandems for a Class B can hold up to 66,000 pounds. So I'm giving a license to somebody, and all of our families are on these roads. So it was a very, very strict class. 2 weeks long, a week on the computer, and then a week at DIA, doing hands-on. Still kind of getting my bearings on some of it. It'll be ongoing there for a little bit, but Ken Clausen, he's our other tester. He's helping me out a lot. Mm-hmm. He's been doing it for quite a few years now, so he's helping me out with that. I have done my own tests now, so I feel like I've getting my bearings pretty good. So.
Yeah, no, that's great, and I think it's a pretty unique opportunity for people who want to come work with Public Works. They don't necessarily need to have a CDL when they come work here. And you would think, it's a job where I would be operating heavy machinery. I probably need it in advance, but that's not the case.
Yeah. So for our people starting, you have to start with a commercial driver's license permit. We will reimburse you once you start. We'll pay you back for that permit. Mm-hmm. Then you have to do an entry-level driver training class, which is a week-long class. And you have to score at least 80%. It's a new federal law that just got established last May, I believe. And then you'll get hands-on training for usually 2 weeks, unless you need a little more. Some people learn differently, and they'll need a little bit more time. And then we pay for you to get your commercial driver's license. So normally we'll start out give you your Class B. If you were to go out in the private sector and get your Class B, it would cost you almost $4,000, and so it's kind of a perk that if you come to work here, we'll get that for you.
Wow. Yeah, no, that definitely a perk, and I really like just how you said, it's generally a 2-week class, but we work with you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, to me, anytime I take a test, it's like you either pass or you don't, and then you're done, right? But no, you guys seem to really adapt training for the individual and not just, hey, this is our training program, you either pass or you fail.
Yep. And some people just can't test good. They get that stage fright, and we'll give them the opportunity. If they do fail, we'll give them that opportunity. We'll give them a little bit more training, give them more opportunities to pass.
Yeah.
We don't want to discourage people from not doing good at testing.
Right. Right. No, very good. And especially, I am not the greatest test taker on the planet, so I can definitely appreciate that. One of the things that I also really appreciate about El Paso County and the Public Works team specifically is how open you are with your processes. And one of the cool things that you guys do every year is something called Snow Days. It's an event where you invite the media to come and sort of check out your processes. Can you talk about that and how the community can benefit from an event like Snow Days that you guys put on?
So our workforce is getting younger, which isn't a bad thing, but because of that, they need more training. So with our Snow Days, we have different stations that they'll go through, so they'll learn how to hang chains on their tires, how to put the V-boxes in the back of the truck, how to load their brine tanks, stuff like that. Kind of gets them familiarized with the equipment before we have a snowstorm and it's go, go, go.
Right.
We also do a bunch of classroom stuff that week. It helps because it's going to keep everybody safe out there. Mm-hmm. Not just our guys, but the traveling public is going to be safe.
Right.
We need to keep them roads open, not just so everyone can get to work, but emergency services can get around. We're kind of the pre-first responders.
Yeah, yeah. And what is the value of having the media come and cover that event?
The benefit to that is it shows that we're being proactive on safety, and we're taking the steps to get our people trained correctly, so when they're out there, our machinery is not getting broken, so we can have the right amount of personnel out there on the roads at all times, and everyone's safe while they're doing it.
Yeah, no, that's great. Aside from just the Snow Day event, which happens here at the Acres facility, you guys actually are involved in a number of community events that happen throughout the year. Why does the team see that as such a valuable opportunity? So
I'm involved with a lot of stuff with the high schools and middle schools. Mm-hmm. College and the military isn't for everybody.
Right.
So if we could just change one kid's life, I think it's a benefit. So I go into these schools and I let them know, just because you don't want to go to college or you don't want to go to the military doesn't mean you have to flip burgers.
Right.
You can come work for El Paso County and you have a career, not a job.
Yeah. And
at 17, 18 years old, some of these kids never even thought of a pension.
Right.
Ask me what a pension is, so... to get that ball rolling at a young age, and if they get started here, we have an intern program now where you can get hired here at 16 years old and still be in high school, and we'll work around that schedule. To start here at 16 years old, you're setting yourself up for success.
Yeah, yeah. What is some of the feedback you've received from those programs? What are some of the outcomes you've seen?
So we started it. Probably about 9-10 months ago. We've had probably a half a dozen kids go through it. And I think all but 2 of them are now full-time employees. The other ones are still in school. So it's gone by so quick. It's kind of hard to think back on it, but great feedback. Like, we have good relationships with the teachers at the schools that, so we can get these kids here as much as we can. They can only work, I think, 25 hours a week, but 25 hours a week and full-time at school, that's a lot for a kid.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. And one thing that I think is sort of maybe not the first thing you would think of when you hear about these types of projects or these interactions with the community, but as you mentioned, you're working with the teachers in schools and counselors, school counselors, things like that. And, while they are people in positions to help you, interact with those students and put you in a position to do that, they're also just residents of the county.
Yep.
Right. And so any opportunity, I think, that allows our departments, our organization to interact with the county in positive ways and let them know that, hey, like, these are the kinds of things we're doing to try and improve your situation. I mean, us as employees, we live in the county too. Like, we want great roads. We want, nice facilities. We want all these things. And I think sometimes that's easy to forget about if you just think of government as this thing that I pay my taxes and, I don't like how they spend money. And look, it's totally fine to have that opinion. But when we're able to put ourselves in positions to show like, hey, like we are doing these really interesting things to try and help make our community a better place to live, I think that's extremely valuable and something that people don't often think about.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of times when we get calls from citizens, there's a pothole in front of my house or
Sure.
This drain is not working. So when we can get out to the community and do things to lift that up, it kind of sheds another light on us where that person who might have had a bad taste in their mouth for Public Works, they're like, well, they are just human. They're doing the best that they can with what they have. So it helps us on that aspect too, I think.
Yeah, and even those times where someone does, call, say, hey, I've got a pothole in front of my house. Like, we have the Citizen Connect app. We do have things that allow people to, put in those types of requests, and you guys answer those requests.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Right. It's not just like it goes into some deep, dark hole somewhere and it's never seen from again. But the community does have an opportunity to interact with the county, the organization, in that way where they can submit those requests and things like that.
And we encourage that.
Yeah. So we've gone through quite a bit and talked about, I think, quite a bit about what you've done. But is there anything else that you want to add that you think we may have missed or you think would be important for listeners to know?
If you see us out there working, if you could slow down a little bit. We all have families at home, and I know people are in a hurry. They need to get where they need to go. But if you could just take that time and slow down a little bit when you're going through our work zones, would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, and one thing, just because you mentioned it, the one thing I want to add too, especially, it's September, we're going to be getting to snow at some point in the near future. Just be safe around those snowplows.
Yep.
Like let them do their jobs.
Give us some space.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Give us some space. And, I think too, I know you're not the snowplow guy, so I'm not going to put you on the spot, but, I think it's just as important. I mean, you're helping to train those workers that are on the snow plows.
Yep.
That is not an easy job. I've been on those snow plows and I've seen how that works, and that is at least for me, would be a very stressful job. Sometimes those guys are out there when it's pouring down snow and it's pitch black out, and they're doing their best to clear the roads to make it safe for everybody. And so I don't know, maybe if you wanted to add something about just, we have humans on these snow plows, like give them a little bit of grace, like you said, kind of give them some space too.
Yep. Depending on how long the snowstorm goes, there's probably a little bit of fatigue in there also.
Oh, sure, yeah.
We're doing 12 hours on, 12 hours off, so we do have a little bit of time to rest. But when you spend 12 hours in a plow truck, it's not the easiest thing to just go home and close your eyes and go to bed. So there's a little bit of fatigue. So give us a little bit of space. You're still going to get to where you're going, but we want you to get there safely.
Yeah. No, that's great. Oh, well, thank you, Sean, for taking the time today. I appreciate all the information that you shared and for the work that you guys do, not just here at Public Works and for the organization, but for El Paso County as a whole. So thanks for taking the time.
Awesome. Thank you.
If you are interested in listening to additional episodes of Beyond the Dais, be sure to look for us on Podbean or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.